The lone man stumbled into the village. He was lost. Fog clung to him, cold and damp. He pulled his coat tighter, seeking warmth against the encroaching chill. The village was silent. No light shone in the windows. Streets were empty, claimed by overgrown weeds and creeping vines. He had been traveling for days, it seemed. His map, now useless, was tucked away in his coat pocket. Each town he found was just like this one, desolate and forgotten. Where had everyone gone? What had happened here? He continued on, desperate to find shelter for the night. There had to be someone here. Someone who could tell him where he was. Someone who could offer a warm meal and a place to rest. The path twisted through the village like a serpent. It was made of ancient cobblestones, worn smooth by time and neglect. The man followed it, his boots echoing in the silence. The fog seemed to grow thicker, swirling around him like a living thing. He passed buildings that leaned precariously against each other, their windows like vacant eyes. Trees, gnarled and ancient, reached out with twisted branches, their leaves long gone. They seemed to claw at the man as he walked by. He could have sworn he saw movement in the shadows. He picked up his pace, his heart pounding in his chest. He needed to get out of this fog. He needed to find someplace safe, but where could he go? The path led him to a clearing. In the center stood a clock tower, tall and imposing. It seemed to pierce the fog, its dark silhouette a beacon against the gray. He had seen no other structure this tall in the village. He felt drawn to it, compelled forward by some unseen force. As he drew closer, he heard a sound, a low hum, like 1,000 whispers emanated from the tower. He felt a cold shiver run down his spine. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end. What was this place? He reached out and touched the tower's cold, damp stone. It felt ancient, like it had been standing here for centuries. He felt a strange energy pulsing from the stone, flowing into his hand. He pulled back, startled. What was he doing? Section 4, the Hourglass Chamber. He had to get inside. He had to see what was at the top of this tower. He tried the door, but it was locked. He rattled it, but it wouldn't budge. Then he noticed a small, arched opening to the side of the door. It was just big enough for him to squeeze through. He hesitated for a moment, then took a deep breath and crawled through. He found himself in a narrow, circular chamber. A spiral staircase wound its way up the inside of the tower, disappearing into the darkness above. And in the center of the chamber, resting on a stone pedestal, was a glowing hourglass. The sand inside the hourglass was a brilliant gold, and it flowed upward, not down. He watched, mesmerized, as the sand piled up in the top bulb. He had never seen anything like it. He reached out to touch it, but a voice stopped him. Section 5, a shattered moment. Don't touch that. The voice was deep and raspy, and it seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The man whirled around, searching for the source, but he was alone. He turned back to the hourglass just in time to see a shadowy figure appear beside it. The figure was tall and gaunt, and it wore a long, flowing robe. The man couldn't make out its face, hidden as it was in the shadows of its hood. The figure raised its hands, and the hourglass began to shake. Cracks appeared on its surface, spreading like spider webs. The man watched in horror as the hourglass shattered, exploding in a blinding flash of light. He shielded his eyes, but it was too late. The light engulfed him, and he felt himself falling. Then everything went black.